This is the RedLine, and I am your host, Jimmy Red. Thanks for tuning in. Week 11 of the NFL is in the books, folks. And now we are headed on to Week 12, where it's going to be a little bit different. Sometimes you got games on Thursday. This week you got quite a few games on Thursday because it's Thanksgiving. You'll have 3 of those, 1, 4, and 8. So you'll have a couple of those games to watch. You'll have some games on Sunday night, some games on 1, 4, and Monday Night Football. You get more football. It's going to be fantastic. Hopefully everybody enjoys, eating some Thanksgiving food and hanging out with family and watching football, because what makes America America? Football, food, and family. That's what I'm talking about. And all 3 of them under one roof on one day, Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving from me to all of your family out there. I want to thank all of you guys for watching the episode as well. And we're going to start this show off with the power rankings. And man, they have changed. And I got coming in at number 5. I know you guys say, well, why, Red? They just got beat. Or why, Red? Why, I got Kansas City in at 5. Kansas City's in at number 5. They just got beat, but they got beat in a duel. And I think they deserve it. I really do. I think that they are that good still. And they deserve to be where they are. Also, coming in at 4, I have the New England Patriots. Patriots had a bye week. Can't move them. I got them in at 4. Number 3, I got the Steelers. I know they had a tough matchup against the Jaguars. Were able to squeak it out. Win's a win. Got them in at 3. Number 2, I got the Saints. And back at the top, I know they got defeated by the Saints. Got the Rams, baby. That offense is rolling again. And the defense made some stops they had to make in the game they played. I'll talk about that here in a little bit. But got the Rams back up top, so I got the Chiefs in at 5 after the loss. Patriots, Steelers, Saints, and the Rams. That's Red's top 5, according to myself, Jimmy Red. Thanks for hanging out. We're going to break down Week 11 real fast for you, real fast in this show. And that's going to be the first game that I predicted for you, and that was the Green Bay Packers traveling to Seattle to play the Seattle Seahawks. I said the score was going to be 32-28 Green Bay. 27-24. Not too far off on that matchup. I chose the wrong team, but that was a weird game. Russell Wilson threw for 225 yards. His 15-yard touchdown pass to Ed Dixon, the ex-Carolina Panther, with 5:08 left, gave the ball back to Green Bay. Green Bay was unable to convert on a 3rd down with about 4 minutes left in the game. 3.5, 4 minutes. And McCarthy decided to punt the football off, and they never got it back. With Aaron Rodgers, you got to give him a shot. You got a quarterback in Aaron Rodgers who makes stuff happen. Give him a shot, McCarthy. I think he's trying to get himself out of there after a coaching call like that. That was incredibly stupid. It just shows they don't trust Aaron Rodgers at all, basically, is what that shows me. Aaron Rodgers was 21 for 30 with 332 yards and 2 touchdowns. And you can't give the man a shot? Well, I understand you think you're going to get the ball back and you want to put it in your defense's hand to stop it, but they got a playmaker on the other side too, and Russell Wilson. They just went down the field and scored with you. Come on, man. Come on, McCarthy. Go for it. Think that was a terrible call. I really do, personally, myself. The running game, neither team really ran the ball too phenomenal. Chris Carson was the one who ran the ball the best. He ran for 83 yards on 17 carries. Receiving, Devontae Adams had a big game for the Packers, though. He got 166 yards on 10 receptions. That's a big game right there for him. And Tyler Lockett, he didn't have too big of a game, but he made some big catches when he needed to. He only had 70 yards. But all in all, the big takeaway from that game was McCarthy was just trying to get himself out of there, for sure. And it was tough to see because everything was even all the way through the board. Their yards were even, where Seattle only had about 20 more yards. Seattle actually turned the ball over and Green Bay never did. And first downs, that wasn't even close. Seattle won that one big, 23-14 on that one. And that moves Seattle up to 500, and that hurts Green Bay and drops them down to one game under 500. And Green Bay's got to bounce back. They got to run the table. If they run the table, they can still get in. This is the same point they ran the table last year. You heard Aaron Rodgers say it. We got to run the table. And if they run the table like they did a couple years ago, they'll get into the playoffs. But it's going to be tough. This isn't the same team that it was back then. And Seattle's a better team than most people give them credit for. As you see right here, now they're back up to 500. Man, it's going to be tough for Green Bay to get into the playoffs for sure. I had them as my favorite to get in as a 1 seed at 13-3. That one's in the books. They've already lost 5 games. So, we'll see what happens. Another matchup I said last week was going to be phenomenal. Had a big implications on the AFC South. It did not live up to the hype. If you're a Colts fan, it did. If you're a Titans fan, you're in the dumpsters because Marcus Mariota got hurt again with that shoulder and elbow, both that had been bothering him most of the year. He took a week off, and Gabbert got hurt. Then they had to put him back in, so he's been playing through it most of the time. But let me tell you, if you're a Colts fan, you're loving it right now. Frank Ritt's starting to mesh with the boys. Coming over from Philly, you're seeing the struggles for Philly for sure. So you're seeing that he was a great pickup for sure. Andrew Luck is starting to look great out there on the field. Andrew Luck threw 3 touchdown passes. Marlon Mack, Jordan Wilkes both ran one. And the Indianapolis Colts routed them 38-10. I said 26-24. I thought it was going to be close. 38-10. Definitely not what I expected. Gabbert came in there. First play, what's he do? Whoop! Rips an interception right to the Colts. I mean, come on now, Gabbert. Do something comfortable. Don't just throw it right to the defense. And then Andrew Luck. Phenomenal. That's all I can say about that, man. 293 yards. Or 297 yards. 3 touchdowns. 23 for 29. He missed 6 passes all day. Yes, thank you. Derrick Henry, the guy who's been picking up a little bit of slack in the backfield, only rushed for 50 yards on 10 carries. But Marlon Mack, baby, the man who started picking it up over the last few weeks, he's starting to come down just a little bit on his hopes, but he's drawing more attention because of it now. Him and Nakeem Hines are both drawing a lot more attention because of Andrew Luck, and that offensive line is starting to pick up with that pickup of Quentin Nelson. He only rushed for 61. T.Y. Hilton, though, welcome back, bud. Big game. Colts wide receiver T.Y. Hilton, 9 receptions, 155 yards and 2 touchdowns. Andrew Luck found his favorite target, which means the offense is starting to click again. That's going to open up the running game, and that's also opened up the passing game as well. As you see here, it opened up the running game a couple weeks in a row. They then shut the run down with Marlon Mack and Nakeem Hines. Opens up the passing game. T.Y. Hilton, Andrew Luck lights them up. Colts only 2 games out of the lead of the division with the win against Houston. Houston plays Tennessee this week. If they win, Indy wins, they play Miami. If Indy beats Miami and Houston gets defeated by Tennessee on Monday night, the Colts are only 1 game back after starting the season off a terrible start to the year. And they are now currently on a 4-game winning streak. First 4-game winning streak since 2014 for the Indianapolis Colts. That is fantastic to hear. So, good job to the Colts getting the wins out there, playing great football, and making themselves known again. They are a viable team to be for that AFC South Division. Another game that a lot of people were one to watch for sure because it's America's team is the Cowboys. And the other one would be the Atlanta Falcons. The Cowboys are probably the clear-cut favorite now to win the NFC South. We want to send this out real fast while we're here. Our condolences to Alex Smith and his family after he was rushed into immediate surgery in that game last week where his team was defeated in the game playing against the Texans where he suffered a broken fibula and tibia both in one play of that game, and we want to send our condolences out to him. But a couple of weird coincidental things are on a Monday Night Football game 33 years ago to the day, that is when what was here? It was just God, man, it just killed me. It was Joe Theismann was hurt that day 33 years ago, and it was the same team, same date, and it was the same final score to the football game, 23-21. His team lost on I think it was 56, 61, something like that, yard field goal that they missed. It was about 5 yards short, and they lost the game to the Texans because it was short. But it's just crazy to me how all that stuff lines up. and he was hurt like that, which now obviously puts Dallas as the clear-cut favorite to win the division, as they won this week over Atlanta 22-19. I had the score being 38-24. Atlanta, I mean, what can you say? The Cowboys are starting to look good again. They don't have much competition in their division. Dak Prescott throwing 22 for 32, 220 yards. But Zeke, though, baby, Zeke, that's where it's at. Let me tell you a little number on Zeke. Zeke, 23 for 122 and 1 touchdown. But this is the first time the Cowboys this year have won back-to-back games. Can they make it 3 in a row? Let's wait and see. They got a matchup this week that's going to be pretty compelling that we all going to have to watch and see. They also, Zeke, something crazy on him is that's his 4th career game, or his 4th game this season with 200-plus all-purpose yards. It's phenomenal. Phenomenal back right there. He's doing what Christian McCaffrey is and then some. So shout out to Zeke. And Matt Ryan signed that big contract. Most of the time when a quarterback signs a big contract, they go, that's what's happening. A lot of people say it's because Devontae Freeman ain't there. Well, Tevin Coleman stepped up. He's doing the best he can. It's just who he is. He's not a Devontae Freeman, but he is a lead back, and that offensive line's not, the same offensive line they normally are. They put most of their money into the wide receivers and Matt Ryan, so the offensive line is going to struggle. And that's going to hurt your running back. So it was tough to see that for sure, especially being an Indiana guy. That Coleman's not running the football. But Dallas with the win, clear-cut favorites to win the division. They won that game 22-19. Way to go, Dallas on the win. Minnesota and Chicago. Man, the Bears are back, baby. Let me tell you, Khalil Mack, oh my Lord, force to be reckoned with. He hit Kirk Cousins like he was a rag doll. He was hitting him every which way, which I love to see. Kirk Cousins, I think, is a 9-7 quarterback. I think he's overrated personally. And that's that saying he quoted, "You like that." I don't like that at all. But Mitchell Trubisky has developed, man. Him and that new head coach, Matt Nagy, look good together. And I'm excited to see what these Bears can do, for sure. They won that game 25-20. I said the score to that was going to be the Bears win 24-28. I was not far off on that one. I said 24-28. It ended up being 25-20. I was right there. It's 5 points. I had it at 6 points. Right there at the cut line. So, yes, that's what I'm talking about. That just fires me up as a person, knowing I was that close. Kirk Cousins, 30 for 46, 260 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 1-to-1 ratio. How can you be a phenomenal quarterback and have the 1-to-1 ratio? Nah, you need at least like a 5-to-1 in my mind. Mitchell Trubisky, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. I said he was developing, folks. I know what you're thinking. I said he's looking good. I said developing. I didn't say he was a rock star yet. Dalvin Cook, man, he struggled. Let me tell you, 9 for 12 carries. Just came back from a lot of injuries and stuff, and he didn't run the ball good again. That's a tough day for Dalvin Cook, the kid they got out of Florida State last year. Jordan Howard. He didn't run the ball too phenomenal either. There's not much running game in either one of these two teams, but it was all through the air for both of these guys. Taylor Gabriel caught some good catches for the Chicago Bears, and Stephon Diggs had a good game, and so did Adam Thielen. So, phenomenal passing game for both of those guys. And I just was excited to see that the Bears could beat this team for sure. And that shows the Bears are back in the division and they're ready to play. And they could win their division as well, considering that the Packers are struggling and the Lions and all of them. So they could win their division as well. Both teams turned the ball over 3 times in this game. Ball possession went to Chicago by about 6 minutes in that game. Actually, 9 minutes in that game. Sorry, they took that one by 9 minutes, and they had way more first down. So I'm just happy to see Chicago back on it and see Mitchell Trubisky ready to play some football and know that they have a shot to do some stuff, and I'm pumped. So let's go Chicago for sure, because you've struggled long enough. You deserve to have at least one good year for sure. In a game that everybody knows about, Monday Night Football, Chiefs and Rams. Man, they lit the scoreboard up like it was a pinball machine, folks. 54-51, Rams with the win. I said it was going to be 38 Chiefs, 42 Rams. I told you they're going to light the board up. I didn't expect them to light the board up like this. They lit the scoreboard up. Aaron Donald was the difference maker in this game. He hit Patrick Mahomes for two forced fumble sacks. And then they made him throw 3 interceptions, but he still threw 6 touchdowns along the way. Jared Goff threw for 4, and Todd Gurley looked phenomenal on the ground as well. Kareem Hunt looked good on the game. These teams are well-rounded. There was really no defense whatsoever. Obviously, it shows right here, especially when there was 105 total points scored and 1,001 yards of total offense. There was 13 combined touchdowns. It was the 3rd highest game in NFL history, the highest scoring game in Monday Night Football history. It's the highest over-under game at 64 in NFL since 1968. And it was the first time that a team has ever scored 50 points and lost a football game in NFL history. Think about all that real quick. That right there is how two teams just put points on the board. And that's why the Rams are number 1. Because they proved they could put 50 points up and not check up. So have the Saints. But I think the Rams have got tired of that loss to the Saints and turned it to the next level. And that's why I like the Rams, put them back at 1. Kansas City looks tough, though. And if you're in the AFC, now you're worried. If you're the Steelers or if you're the Patriots, seeing them put up 51 against a defense that's got Aaron Donald and Dante Fowler and Hakeem Talib and Ndamukong Suh, although Marcus Peters is struggling, you'll pick on him for sure throwing the football. But just to see them still put up 51, that scares you if you're an AFC team. And even if you're an NFC team, seeing the Rams drop 54, that scares me for sure as well, because I am blown away. I didn't expect to see that in the score. Another game I just want to touch on briefly will be the Steelers and the Jags game. The Jags went up early in that game. I didn't do any predictions on this one. The Jags went up 16-0. Then they gave up 20 unanswered points to the Steelers. Steelers came back and won that game 20-16. Big Ben threw 3 interceptions, 2 touchdowns, 315 yards. Blake Bortles, he's terrible. Like I said, he was the worst quarterback in the division. If I was a couple years ago, I would have drafted him. I thought he was phenomenal coming out of college at UCF, but he is terrible. Threw 10 for 18 for 104. Terrible. James Conner didn't have the game running the ball like normally. Leonard Fournette did, though, coming back. He almost ran for 100 yards in his second game back of injury. Ran for 95 yards on 28 carries and a touchdown. Antonio Brown caught the ball like a phenom, 117 yards on 5 receptions and a touchdown. But the biggest thing to come out of that game was Big Ben keeping the ball and running it into the end zone with only 5 seconds left and putting his team up. I think it was a good call by Mike Tomlin to allow him to run it. They still had a timeout in their back pocket. Allow and see if you can get your big man to run it in there on the sweep, which did. He scored it with 5 seconds left, which was awesome to see. That was cool to me. That was the first time they came back to win, being down 16 points or more in the second half since 10-5-1997 against Baltimore. Did it in Baltimore as well. So they came back on the road both times against Baltimore and against Jacksonville. So that was awesome to see for sure. And the craziest thing was, to me, out of that whole game, was the last 17 games the Steelers have went on the road. They are 15-1-1. They have lost 1 game on the road out of their last 17, and they've tied 1. So, I mean, wow. Think about that one more time. 17 times on the road, you've lost 1 game, tied 1, and won 15. That's a championship team. So, shout out to the Steelers on that big W this week on that pullout right there. And another game I did not predict real quick. I want to talk about this one quite a bit. That was the Carolina Panthers and the Detroit Lions. I thought it was going to be a blowout, folks. I thought the Panthers were going to go in there and knock their doors down. They entered that game 6-3. The Lions entered it 3-6. Instead, well, the Lions won it 20-19. And I like the call from Ron Rivera. Everybody says, well, Ron Rivera shouldn't have went for 2. He shouldn't have went for 2. Yes, he should have. He should have went for 2. I like the call. You're on the road. Go for a chance to win the game. They had the play. It was right there. Cam Newton, all he had to do was hit him in his numbers. He overthrows him. Why didn't you just take Cam and roll the ball to the left? There was a wide open spot right there. Everybody rolled right. Why didn't he roll left and run it right in the end zone himself? He had 2 chances to do it. He couldn't capitalize himself, Cam Newton, and that's why they lost. And that's what hurt, because I didn't like seeing that at all, because that was just, it was not good at all. Because the Panthers needed that win. Now people here are saying, well, they're out of the chance to even win the division. Well, they are, for sure. Because now they've lost 4 games and the Saints have only lost 1. They're way out of the lead. Still tied for a 5th, or still tied. They're still in a wild card spot for 5th. They'll have to play a wild card game as a 5. That's all right, but the point being, they should have never lost this game to Detroit. Detroit, I don't know what it is about Detroit, but they step up when they play at home. They've got big home game wins. They've got 4 wins this year. 3 of the games they've played have been at home, and they were all huge wins. They came against New England, Green Bay, and Carolina. He can get them stepped up for some reason. Patricia can for these big games, but when he's getting them in something else, he can't get them to step up, and I don't understand how he does that. And another thing about the Lions is they've been struggling with getting their quarterback sacked, Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford was sacked in the 2 games prior to this one 16 times in those 2 games. This game here, he was sacked once. And if you ask me, if you're the defensive coordinator for Carolina, you're on the hot seat, bud. You might not have a job next year, if you ask me. I think you need to send you gone because if you don't know, Steve Wilkes was last year's defensive coordinator when the Panthers were rolling, and he was the one there for a while before that, and he is now the head coach for the Arizona Cardinals. So the defense has definitely went downhill. They got 1 sack in that game. For real? Come on now. You guys got an awesome defense. It's really fallen off the last few years, and it's still the same players. And also, when the Lions do not allow an opponent to score 23 points, they are 4-0. If they keep you under 23, chances are they're going to win. But the Panthers, man, Cam Newton, there were some bright points to come out of this game. I mean, they had DJ Moore, who got 157 yards. It's the most by a rookie in his first, obviously if you're a rookie, it's your first year, by a rookie in franchise history. Congratulations to DJ Moore on that. He's stepping up. Devin Funchess should now be worried. They need to move him around. I think you need to play Curtis Samuel more, and I think DJ Moore needs more time. And then when Torrey Holt comes back, put him in. And I think we need to figure something out with Funchess. Maybe get him out of here. I don't know. But C-Mac, you don't need Funchess. That's my thought process on that. And let's see here. That is the Panthers' first consecutive loss since October of 2017. October of 2017. So they haven't lost back-to-back games since October of 2017. And Cam Newton's 9th straight game with 2 or more touchdowns. That is a franchise record as well. Cam Newton's turning into a passing quarterback. Although it would have been nice to have seen him get that touchdown there at the end of the game, or 2-point conversion as it should have been, to win that game for the Panthers. But Ron Rivera said it, he's on the road to win. You win at home. You win on the road. You have to. And this is the one that really blows my mind for sure, and it's another defensive stat. And it's the 3rd game this year the Panthers defense did not get a takeaway. Guess what the record is when they do not get a takeaway? A big old goose egg and 3. They're 0-3 when they don't get a takeaway. And that's the biggest factor I see right there. Defense has got to step up. You can't put it all on Cam's shoulders. Everybody says Cam's got to get better. Well, I think the defense needs to step up personally. His offense is good, but it's not that Rams or it's not that Kansas City Chiefs offense. He's got to have defense, and he doesn't have it. And he needs it, and he ain't got it. So defense, step up. That's how you're going to win games. That's my tidbit on that. Carolina needs to definitely step up the defense for sure in the up-and-coming games. And I just want to touch on one more thing, a couple of upsets real quick. These were all field goal games. The Broncos defeated the Chargers in a field goal as time ran out, 23-22. Another one, the Raiders get another win over the Cardinals as time runs out again. That gives Gruden his 2nd win, which now puts the 49ers up top for a chance to get the number 1 pick in the NFL draft this year. And the Texans and Skins, that was the missed field goal I mentioned earlier when I talked about Alex Smith. That was a missed field goal from, I think it was 56 or 61, don't remember the number. Field goal there, and that lifted them to win, Texas to pull the win out on that. So 3 field goals on that one, and then the game-winning drive. Touchdown by Big Ben, so all close games so far during that time. So this week, we're heading into Week 12. As I mentioned, Thanksgiving football games, and we're going to talk about the Thanksgiving game, one of them that they have coming up, and that is the Falcons and the Saints. It's an NFC South matchup. Atlanta's not been playing the greatest football, and the Saints have been playing phenomenal football. But If you're going to turn it around, this is a chance you got to do it. You got a team that's coming in hot. They're playing at home, the Saints. You're playing away. You play better away this year so far than you have at home. This is your chance to do something. Coleman's got to step up because they don't have much of a defense, the Saints. But you got to find a way to shut down Michael Thomas. Because Michael Thomas and Drew Brees have been hooking up like champions all year. And if you can find a way to shut down Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara, you got this game won. And Atlanta's got a problem with that, I think. Because, well, you see, Atlanta hasn't been able to shut down many offenses this year because their defense is not the best. And it even shows right here. Most people think that it's an 80% for the Saints to win it. The spread for this game, they have it at 13. Saints minus 13 to win it. I got it at 15 here on the paper. I just think Drew Brees is way too much. 42-27 is what I got it at. I just think Drew Brees, his offense, way too much. They can't find a way to shut down Alvin Kamara. They can't find a way to shut down Michael Thomas for sure. And I think they find a way on their side to make a couple big moves. They make them force and throw the football. And they got to go deep to get back into the game. They can't complete them. And I think the Saints find a way to win it, improve to 10-1, and make themselves big dogs up in top of that conference. And Carolina is easily standing in second for sure after this. Another one I'm excited about is an NFC South matchup, and that's the Green Bay Packers and the Eagles. A lot of people are like, well, why are you interested in that one? Well, because I still got money on it. If the Giants went out, they went 9-7 like I predicted. If not, then I missed on that. But the Eagles are definitely not going to do what I predicted. The Eagles are not as good as most people would have thought. I mean, they're worse than most people would have thought, for sure. Carson Wentz does not look like Carson Wentz. 15-6 touchdown ratio is not very good. Eli Manning looks like Eli Manning of last year. The things that are saving him is Saquon Barkley and Odell Beckham. Those guys are definitely saving him for sure. The one saving Carson Wentz is Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz is a machine out there. Leonard Smallwood's not running the football too phenomenal. But the reason I'm excited about this game is Saquon Barkley's going against a defense that has struggled. Saquon's put up big points. I want to see if Eli can get that ball to Saquon and Saquon can make moves and get this win for the Giants. Because if he can, this is a big statement for him, showing him that he can go out there and contend against the big guys. And it shows the Giants that there's somebody who can hang with the big guys too. That gives them confidence when they play Dallas next time. And if that's the case, they got a shot to still make the playoffs, folks. They might not win the division, but if they play good football through the rest of the year and this win boosts their confidence because Saquon goes out there and plays phenomenal, you got to watch out, man. Giants can make the playoffs. It's a wild card, so watch out for it. I'm telling you straight up, this is a game you guys got to look out for. I got the score being 26-20, 6-point spread. I got the Giants winning this game. They got the spread here at 6. I hit the number right on the head, but they got it for the Eagles being -6. I got it vice versa. I got the Giants winning it. So Eagles -6. I hit it right on the head as the spread, but just the wrong team in my mind. So make sure you watch this game. It's going to be a phenomenal one. It's a 1 o'clock Sunday on Fox. So make sure you get yourself tuned in for that one. Another one I'm excited for, Carolina and Seattle. 1 o'clock on Sunday as well. Carolina coming off a loss, a tough loss that they should have never took. But they got Seattle traveling across country over here to face them. Seattle is not the team that everybody thinks they are. They're a 500 team, but they're better than a 500. They play tough teams out there. They played the Rams. They played teams like that are tough all year. The Chargers, the Rams, tough. They just had their hands full. Russell Wilson, playmaker for sure. Him and Cam, both playmakers, can move around in the pocket. But Carolina's defense has been struggling, and that's an extra X factor they've not had to worry about most of this year. And I want to see what they do. Because now that they have that extra X factor, do you play the run? Do you play the pass? Because when they played the run against Atlanta, when they had Devontae Freeman and Coleman running all over them, they opened up the pass game and got beat. So what do you do when you got Russell and Carson? Do you play the run? Do you play the pass? Or how do you do that against them? I want to see what the defense does, especially stepping up in this here, because you got to still worry about Tyler Lockett and Doug Baldwin both in the passing game. So I want to see what the defense does for Carolina. Cam Newton and Christian McCaffrey, you know what they're going to do. They're going to go out there and have fun. They're just going to have a fun day, and they're going to go put points up. C-Mac's going to look like a machine. Cam hopefully has a good game, able to move, mobile, gets back on target after having a rough game last week, not being able to play the way he wanted to. He still threw 2 touchdowns, kept that streak alive, but cost his team the game by not running the ball or hitting Funches right in the numbers there in the end zone to win the tie the game or win the game. Actually, it would have been. And Funches, he needs to find a way to get back on track, or we just need to put him on the bench for sure. And we need to worry about DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey, and Curtis Samuels. That's my opinion on that deal. That's what I think we should do. Personally, the spread on this game for these two here is 3.5 minus 3.5 for the Patriots. The Panthers. I have this game being at an 8-point split. I have it being 32-24. Panthers, baby. They bounce back, big win. I think they come back, play. They come out firing right out of the gate because they're upset with themselves, and they don't play all the way through. I think they allow them to start crawling back in it like they did earlier this year when they played Cincinnati, but I think they got enough to be able to win this game and hold off and win. So that's what I see happening here. I think they pick it up late in the middle of the third quarter again. I think the middle of the third quarter is when they start falling off. So I got Carolina to win. Another one is another conference matchup, and that's the Minnesota Vikings and the Green Bay Packers. Minnesota is playing at home against Green Bay. It's 8:20. It's a Sunday night game. I'm fired up by it because you got two good quarterbacks. I think Kirk Cousins is 9-7. I think Aaron Rodgers is potentially the best quarterback to ever play the game, just only has one Super Bowl and hasn't had a coach and a whole lot of players yet. So I'm excited to see this one for sure. I want to see if Aaron can get back on track because he hasn't really defeated any good quarterbacks this year. All the quarterbacks he's beat have been pretty terrible. I want Aaron Rodgers to get back on track and play football like Aaron Rodgers. I understand his wide receiver has been hurt. He had no Geronimo. He had no Adams or any of that. They traded Montgomery. Montgomery made bad plays for him. But now they got a running back in Jones, and Aaron Rodgers has got time to throw the football most of the time. Or he can ad-lib it, which he's been doing most of his career. He's going against Kirk Cousins, who's coming off of a loss last week to the Bears. I think he's banged up because Khalil Mack tore him apart. Latavius Murray having a pretty solid season, but the guy you really got to watch out for the most is Adam Thielen. I think you stick Zaire Alexander on him and see if he can watch him one-on-one and do it because you can't put your safety on him anymore. You traded him Clinton Dix to the Skins. So this is going to be a good matchup. A lot of people think that it's going to Minnesota. They think Minnesota's going to win this matchup. It's a pretty 56-43 split right now. I think it's going to be a good game for sure. They got it at 3.5, Minnesota here. I got it as a 1-point split, 27-26. I think the Packers win it. That's the 8:20 game. So make sure you tune into that one. That's a Sunday night game. That one's going to be good. I think Aaron Rodgers gets his boys back on track. They start being able to try to run the table and get into this playoffs because Packers got to be viable. If the Packers ain't viable, then people are just like, oh, whatever. The whole town of Wisconsin is going to fire McCarthy, and they're not even going to have a football team for the rest of the year. And you don't want that because the Packers are football. Another game we want to talk about here is the Monday Night Football. And this one has big implications in it for sure because if the Texans win, Colts lose, Texans are then only one game up over Tennessee. If the Colts win and the Texans win, the Colts still on the tiebreaker, and they're both only one game under Tennessee. So conference matchup for the AFC South, Monday Night Football. Tennessee, Houston. Houston 7-3, Tennessee 5-5. 2 games back. Indy just defeated them the other week. Marcus Mariota is a huge question mark. Is he going to play? Is he not? I think you got to play him. Blaine Gabbert's terrible, so you have to play him. But Deshaun Watson will play. They came in after the bye and looked rusty. You kind of hope they still have the rust this week so they do get defeated by Tennessee because Indy's heading to Miami to face the Dolphins who have been struggling the last few weeks. So Indy should get the win there. That would only put the Colts 1 game back, which would be awesome because that would be sweet for all the people out there because Andrew Luck is a phenomenal quarterback for sure. And I'd like to see him come back and be a bounce-back player of the year for sure. But Deshaun Watson, 2,500 yards this year. He's throwing 18-9, so basically a 2-to-1 ratio. Marcus Mariota, nowhere near close to that, 7-6. So he's throwing like basically a 1-to-1. And Corey Davis has stepped up, as I mentioned a couple weeks ago, as the lead target there after being hurt of Delaney Walker. They're playing in Houston, though. That's the problem. Tennessee can play good on the road, but with the injury to Marcus Mariota, I don't think he's going to be able to withstand the hits he's going to take from Jadeveon Clowney, J.J. Watt, and I think he's going to be hit a couple times, and that's going to bring in Blaine Gabbert. Blaine Gabbert's going to struggle, and Houston's going to win the game. India wins, still be 2 games back. That's what I see happening here. I have the score being 24-18. I got it being 24-18 with Mariota, and I see it being 28-10 without Mariota. So if Mariota's in, they score more points. Without Mariota, they don't. But I still think Houston wins this game for sure, and Indy wins, and it's still a 2-game split in the AFC South. So, well, make sure you come back here next week on the Red Line after Thanksgiving, so you and your family have a fantastic Thanksgiving, watching football, eating food, and enjoy it. Make sure you come back next week. We'll break down these games. We'll see who your division leaders are. We'll see how close the races are. Hopefully there's no sad news like there was this week with the loss of a great quarterback in Alex Smith, but there is a Texas Longhorns quarterback stepping in of Colt McCoy. We'll see what he can do here for that team, but make sure you tune back in right here next week on the Red Line. Get the breakdown of Week 12 games that just went on, and get the updates on predictions of Week 13 right here with myself, Jimmy Red, on the Red Line. We'll see you guys then.